So hi folks, we've got a bit of a treat here today. We've got Brendan McGirr, Dave Courtney's very best friend, with Piers Hernu. I think I've got the pronunciation right. And Brendan, there was a lot of association, wasn't there, with Dave and Piers? Tell us about all of that.
Well, listen, their association became a very important part of Dave's life at a very important time. I'm going to let Piers explain it probably better than I will about that relationship and how it evolved. But the credibility it gave to Dave and the media attention that it gave to Dave at the time, without Piers' input, Dave Courtney might not have never been as recognised as he was. But I am going to ask Piers one question before we start, and I've sneakily kept a, well, I've done it as usual, you can't get it, but I've sneakily kept a photo here, and this is now become quite an iconic photo, and if you can see that,
yeah.
Okay. Basically, the story of this photo is being told in a documentary called The Real Line of Duty at the minute, which is out on Amazon Prime. And this was a day Dave Courtney went to court dressed like this, and he had beat up a serving policeman called Austin Warnes in the foyer of Bow Street Magistrates Court, because Austin had insinuated that Dave was an informant. It's been proven for many years, and it's been now admitted by CIB3 in the documentary that Austin's made up this whole story and that Dave wasn't the informant. So that will explain the story and how iconic it will become now, I think. But also, your involvement in this, Piers, was, where did this come from?
Well, Dave was a columnist for Front magazine at the time, and this issue cropped up and he had to go to Bow Street Magistrates, and I thought, well, this would be a great column, and I honestly don't know whether it was I'd love to claim it was my idea. It may have been Dave's, but somehow there was a uniform and fancy dress shop near Front magazine, and this particular Jester's outfit was the very same one that was used in the film, I think, Shakespeare in Love.
I was told that it was used in the film Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah, it's the same one. Which is why it's so ornate and so brilliant. It doesn't look in any way anything other than authentic. And magically it fitted Dave.
Dave, and he put on the performance of a Bart on the day.
The juxtaposition of humour and menace summed up Dave Courtney, really. And it was those two that made him such a charismatic character. I remember coming to this very house on the morning of that trial.
That event, I remember you being here, yeah.
Meeting you and Dave, and having a plastic bag full of £50,000.
We had £50,000 in cash, and if anyone wants to check the front page of the Star, the Sun and the Mirror that day, they will see photos of us with me holding the bag open of 50 grand in cash.
What was the money for?
That was Dave's bail money.
Yeah, and we drove to Bow Street, where we met up with a number of other supporters and lumps.
I mean, there was actually about 30 people here left the house with us. People like Marcus Redwood,
yeah,
Terry Stone, or Terry Turbo as he would have been known in that days.
Yeah,
he was here. There's a few other boys out there, Mickey Gold too, Seymour. They were all here on the day, you know, like there's photos there, there's iconic photos. You'll see the guys that was here on the day, but there was about 40 of us went to court in black Range Rovers and Jeeps, in black suits, with Dave dressed like that. And I think it was the first and only time in any British courtroom a gang of so-called, like, let's just say reprobates, or a rabble if you like, went in with a man dressed as a clown, and he beat a policeman up and they walked out laughing. So I don't think it's been attempted or it's been done by anyone.
I imagine, you could be thrown out of court for contempt of court, not taking the law seriously if you're dressed as a medieval jester like that. But he was allowed to go in and beat someone up with it.
If I remember what the actual judge said to him, because if you look at this, there's a lot of bells on it. So Dave, after he'd attacked the policeman and they took him out of court, he had actually stood in the dock, and every time he looked to the defence or the prosecution, he deliberately turned his head quite violently and made the bells rattle. So the judge was looking at him, and he said, "Take that off, take it off." So Dave, removed it from his head, and he went like, "I don't," he said, "the noise of that." He said, "And by the way, Mr. Courtney," he said, "if you were to wear that in one of my courtrooms ever again, I will have no hesitation in giving you 30 days for contempt of court." And Dave's reply to that, I can't remember whether it was 150 or 250, but he said, "Your Honour, at £250 a night, I promise never to wear it again." So that was the reply he gave the judge. There was a little bit of sniggering in the court because defence and prosecution found it amusing. Do you know what I mean? It was an unusual case for Bow Street magistrates to have a serious case like that with that amount of humour in it, if you like.
Well, nobody there will ever forget the day. You, me, anybody who worked there, anyone in the court, the judge. It was unique. It was special. It was part of British legal history, really.
It has become an iconic moment in British legal history, and I'm afraid the only reason that took place and was dealt with the way it was is because the authorities at the time, and CIB3 were the people investigating the Met, they were fully aware that Dave was not the informant, and so were the police. So for Dave to go there and attack that policeman for saying he was an informant, he was fully justified and he was in the right. But they didn't want anyone to think Dave wasn't a grass at that time because he was having so much media success, and because of his, let's say, colourful background, they weren't keen on him being a successful entertainment person. He hadn't come from the right background, he probably didn't fit into some of the status quo at the time. But I do feel that that moment, as much as it was a great day for Dave, that it changed his life and left a stain on him for years.
Because he had a lot of stick about that for years.
Anyone who didn't
even
like
up to his passing.
Even up to before his death. Not that he ever cared, right, in fairness, because he knew he weren't a grass, but you can't tell that, so you can't say that everywhere. Everywhere you go, people will go, "Oh, he's a grass, isn't he?" But like I said, there was no evidence of him grassing anyone up. Other than this case, that was the only time he was ever mentioned as a grass, and it was a complete false statement from a bent copper. But it did leave a stain, and I think it affected his TV career, it affected his film career. I think it was probably one of the reasons that Terry Stone, or is known as now, he broke all ties with Dave. Although Dave put him in the film Hell to Pay, I think Terry broke all ties with Dave, cut him off and didn't speak to him, never really explained it, but I think he'd done it because he realised Dave was being held back in the media world because of this stuff.
Dave wasn't happy about that Terry kind of left him behind.
I think he wasn't happy in the way that if Terry had come to him and said, "Dave, listen, you're getting held back here because of that Court Jester thing, because of your ongoing dispute of your credibility and all that, they're going to slaughter you or they're not making it easy for you. If I stand with you, I'm getting stick. Yeah, so I want to have my own career, I want to do well, I've got a chance to do a career, I'm going to go that way." If he'd have said that to Dave, Dave would have fully got it, because loads of people had to deal with that. And I just think Terry didn't, whether he decided it was going to be, he felt too awkward, embarrassed saying that to Dave, he just went off and done his own thing, was highly successful, that's been proven, he has had a lot of success. I just think it was, and in fairness to him, when he met Dave, I was with him at the premiere of Once Upon a Time in London, I think, and he did immediately, as soon as he seen Dave, he came over to him, shook his hand and went, "Dave, listen, I would like to say thank you. Every part of my success is down to you. It's your ideas, it was your knowledge, and it was really, I based myself on you a lot, Dave, and that's what's got me where I am. And I witnessed him saying that to Dave. So, you know, I suppose he tried to apologise towards the end and a way down the line, but it just offended Dave. He could have been up front with him right at the start, that's all.